All right, the game has been out for a few weeks. Many people have been asking for this review. It's time to review Age of Empires 4. I'll be going over every aspect of the game that I think I should talk about and review, and I'll put timestamps below on the YouTube timeline so you can quickly jump to sections if you want to hear from that specifically. So here we go, Age of Empires 4, long anticipated. People have been waiting literally over a decade for this game. So there's a lot of pressure for this to be a good release, and definitely want to acknowledge that up front. Everyone had expectations for this game. People had a variety of expectations in different areas, and it was going to be difficult to satisfy all those hopes. So first and biggest thing when you talk about is the time period that they set the game in. They did go for the Renaissance era, and I think everyone can acknowledge it. It was just a safe option. I understand why they chose it. It was kind of a relevant time where they can merge the audiences of Age 2, Mythology, and 3, merge them all together and kind of bring together the Age of Empires community. And that seemed to be their goal with this game, was something super safe that people could all relate to in some way and play. And generally, I think they did succeed in that. I do wish that they did venture out. I have a huge desire for there to be a game that picks up where Age of Empires 3 left off, late 1700s, early 1800s, and just goes through that time period, 1800s, into the Second World War. I think it'd be an awesome time period. You could do a lot of stuff in there. The transitions would be so cool. Unit compositions would be really neat. It'd take a little bit of work, but I think it's just such an interesting time in history, and I'm going to be honest, I was a little disappointed that that was not explored for this game. I think a lot of people just had that, oh, that's probably what they're going to do. I understand their options, so already off the bat, I'm a little disappointed in what could have been, but I do understand, and I am thankful that they decided to tackle this time period a little more in depth. So next thing I want to talk about is the visuals, which had tons of criticism when it first came out and was first acknowledging the release video, like it was a year or two ago, where they showed the first glimpses of gameplay footage. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I don't extremely dislike it. It's just average to me. I know a lot of people are complaining that it's outdated, and there's a lot of things that seem to be just not up to date, that it's not realistic looking enough, all of these things. It does have the mobile game feel, unfortunately, in some areas. But other areas, I think it looks pretty good. Like, generally, I really like the landscapes. I love the architecture. You got this, like, shiny copper gold on top of some buildings, which looks really good. Like, I think they did a good job with that. But there are some other areas where it just doesn't look as appealing. Like, crossbows and archers kind of look similar in some areas. That can be kind of frustrating. And just overall, the environment seems more imaginary than realistic, which is what I kind of think older Age of Empires was going towards, more the realistic aspect. Age 3 had a good balance of this because it had like this like oil painting vibe over it, which matched the time period well. But for this game, like, there are certain things that it just kind of feels out of place. And the thing is, like, the light animations that happen when people are building things or you're trying to fire cannons and artillery just doesn't quite fit the Age of Empires vibe. From my experience, it's kind of frustrating, but at the same time, they did an okay job with it. Like, it doesn't look terrible, but I am left wanting more from a historical game. One of those specific features I do want to mention I liked a lot is the unique town building kind of thing. So when you build a house, you would have picket fence or like pathways that form alongside, and then it kind of develops as you make your town. I think that's really cool. It's really neat ingenuity, and I think it's done well. It doesn't get in the way of the gameplay, but also it adds little features that maybe you pay attention to when you're looking back at gameplay footage or something. Like, wow, that's pretty cool. So I do like that. I think that's a great aspect and just a little twist that they added on there. One of the visual things I really dislike are unit upgrades. I think this was extremely poor in their design and executed very poorly. All the upgrades look exactly the same, except the only difference is there's a little dot above them that indicates if there's been an upgrade. So like it has 2 dots if it's a second one, 3 if it's a third one. Super boring. Like, I really wish they had some sort of unique, first of all, for the military units, some sort of unique image for each one. Like in Age of Empires 3, they have different images for each of the ages that they can upgrade up to. And it makes it really clear what upgrades you're getting. Like the Imperial one is gold. It's very obvious which one it is. Age 4 one is a specific shape. The second age one is a specific color. It's bronze, and I think that's good. It makes you just really quick indicator of what you're doing. Some of these are ones I'm like, haven't I upgraded this thing like 5 times already? What upgrade is this like for this unit? Like it kind of feels extra in that sense. And same thing for the eco upgrades. Some of the eco upgrades, I'm like, didn't I already upgrade this? And I'm all right, I guess I missed the upgrade for this age. And it's just hard to indicate and know what's going on. Age of Empires 3 did really well with this. They had specific economic upgrades for each age. So, for example, in Age 1 or Age 2 or Age 1, excuse me, you had hunting dogs for the food upgrade, and then Age 2 you had steel traps, and it was very clear like which one you were getting, the amount it costs. It's like you could refer to it really easily. So I think they missed out on that, and it's just a little thing that kind of is bugging when you're playing the game. Just you want more information that's not there. In terms of visuals as well, the menus are absolutely fantastic. Whoever designed these, 10 out of 10, amazing job. The blue gold design looks crisp. It's refreshing. They have like the world map in the background, which is decent. I think the menus look really good in this game. I really appreciate that. I love also like in the campaigns and some of the missions, you have these digital art features of kind of the battle or the units and stuff. Love the artwork here. Definitely one of my favorite parts of the game. That's really cool. I appreciate those things. I use them in my thumbnails. I like that a lot. And I just think it's a fun part of the game. I love digital art. They have a great artist who does it. So great features with that. I really appreciate that. And I think they did a good job with the menus. So transitioning from the menus, the audio and the music in the menus is fantastic. Each of the civilizations has a unique theme that plays along with the Age of Empires 4 theme. Very well done, well thought through. It's not too out there. It's just a nice subtle feature, and it feels great. Like it feels really good. When you're playing in game, each of the civilizations have their own theme as well. So the music background, as good as the classic songs from Age of Empires games were, shout out to Age of Mythology. They're going to be the same for every civilization. So you kind of get a mixture of new themes, new things going on, and it plays super well. The music changes when you go into big combat scenarios. The troops have landed.
Genghis Khan unleashed the wrath of his Mongol warriors on the heart of the beleaguered city.
It's just gonna get melted. These walls are made of plastic. And gets really intense, and it's really well thought out. I just want to praise it. They did an amazing job. It's by far my favorite feature in this game. I think it's the best part of the game, honestly, is the audio. And you can tell they put a lot of thought into it. And that was a really great part of something that they took, like a concept, right? Unique themes, and they just went extra with it. They one-up it. And they went the extra mile, and it does make a difference. It makes the game really involving, really unique. I know people, when I'm trying to live stream it, love the audio, and it's just great. So really praise that feature. And it was not necessarily expected, just something they added in. They did a really good job with. On top of that, other audio features are specifically in the game. So my favorite one from in the game is that throughout the ages, the language changes. Amazing feature. Again, something that I wouldn't think of at all, but just adds a little bit of a unique cultural feel to it, adds some flavor to the gameplay, and it's just great to play and enjoy. So I really like that feature. Well done, whoever thought of that. Additionally, there's echo sounds throughout the game. You can hear echoing coming off of mountains, which is really neat with your scout. Additionally, there's yelling as they charge into battle. little things like that, really well done and executed into like 10 out of 10 perfection. So nothing more I could ask for from an audio standpoint. I think personally it's the best part of the game. Absolutely praise it. They did a fantastic job. So transitioning from the themes and visuals and going into the gameplay, specifically talking about the civilizations here, talked about it a little bit, but each of the civilizations do feel really unique. That's one of the reasons I do not play Age of Empires 2 is because it's all one civilization. It's super boring to me. I want to see unique units. I want to have a uniqueness to each civ. And you definitely get that with this game. They did make sure that the civilizations are very diverse. One of the ways they did this is with their kind of landmark system, which is how you age up. Your option between one landmark, there's 2 to choose from for each age. Acts as a stable. Acts as a market. We're going eco fronts. Each one gives you a different kind of bonus or ability. And it's very unique to each civilization. So it's really cool. You get to kind of build up in a unique way the desire that you are kind of going for with your strategy. So easy example is with the English, you get one that produces longbows at a faster rate, which is great because you're probably going to make a lot of longbows as an English, pretty backbone unit. But at the same time with that, you're not going to choose the other option unless you're going for very out-of-the-box strategy. And so I do wish that they incorporated maybe some more viable landmarks. For most of them, it seems like you're going to choose this option no matter what. So I think they could update that a little bit. But I do like the direction of that. It feels more unique. Additionally, like I was talking about, the languages are super unique. The tech trees are more unique. There's some units that are only available for one civilization, and some of them are extremely obvious, like the Delhi Sultanate has access to elephants, so no other civ can use those units, and it's just nice to see that army diversification. I do enjoy that. So each civ does have those aspects. They have some kind of unit that is unique to them, and I enjoy that. I think it's great. It brings the history into the game. It makes it more fun to try different strategies, and it makes the game more involved. So really well done there. I will say that they're definitely missing some civilizations. I know they started with 8, and it's a decent number. But where is Japan, man? I missed the samurai. I cannot believe there's an Age of Empires launch without samurai. And as well, the Aztecs are not in the game. So assuming they're going to make expansions, but another staple civilization. And then the Vikings as well are not in there. So some civilizations that it's like, man, I really expected those to be there. We're not there. So we'll have to wait for some DLC to probably get those civs. Additionally, I do want to say there are some civs that are obviously stronger than others. This is very clear online. The French are probably one of the easiest examples of this. They get units in age ahead, which is an absolute nightmare. It breaks the system for me. It's very frustrating. I don't know who play tested this or what the thought process was, but you can get knights in age ahead. So you can get knights in age 2, and they're really hard. They're so difficult to counter because the pikes are very flimsy, to say the least. So not only do you have to get a ton of pikes to counter these cavalry units, you got to upgrade them. And the French have a landmark that you can produce cavalry from, so you can literally, as soon as you age, push out with cav, and you have to age up, you have to build a barracks, you have to recruit guys, which takes forever, and we'll talk about that later, and you have to upgrade them to even come remotely close to countering it. So there are some things like that where it's very frustrating, not thought through enough. Generally, I do like the unit counter system. I think it's lacking in some ways. Cavalry does seem too strong. This French cav also heals itself, which is super, like, why does that need to be a thing? I think there needs to be a late game melee option that's more viable. Transitioning in the combat now. Combat at the beginning of the game is generally really good. I do enjoy the combat ages 1, 2, and 3. Age 4, the combat falls apart. Late game, this game is just a gunpowder fest. It's just so many gunpowder units, and I understand like that's a superior tech in real life, but it's way blown out of proportion in this game. Melee infantry seem pretty useless. Knights get demolished by ranged infantry like crazy. So the game starts out really well, but it transitions into just like a shooting fest, and it's kind of weird. It feels really weird and free-for-all and kind of 3v3, like late game. So I don't like how it progresses in that. But beginning of the game, it does feel pretty good. I will say there's definitely a clunkiness to the combat. The pathing is not the best. This was definitely highlighted in campaign missions. You can see units like running behind their teammates, like kind of waiting to go into battle. Massive boost right there. Half these guys don't even know what to do. It's like some total war right there. And it feels pretty useless in that sense, and it's pretty frustrating. Additionally, cavalry can clump up. This guy's going with nest of bees only. Alright, this will be interesting. Sometimes units are attacking like houses for no reason. Just little things like that that are kind of annoying. I mean, I understand you're supposed to micro your army, but sometimes you micro it and they still clump up on top of each other. So the combat does feel very clunky, and it's not the smoothest. I will say earlier on, like I said, I think it's smoother, but later game you go, it just feels way too clunky. The clunky is the best word I can describe it. It's not smooth. It's not very clear all the time what units are doing what or who's engaging, or how they're engaging. I'm not sure if it's the animations or what, but sometimes it's just not very clear, and it's frustrating to kind of deal with, instead of a joy to micro. You know, in Age of Mythology, I love microing. Age of Empires 3, love microing. But for this game, I do not necessarily. It just feels more like a confusing chore. You don't really know what's going on. I just don't feel like I have enough feedback sometimes. And so that can be annoying. And overall, like, the combat feels like you have a wrecking ball. It feels like you're just rolling over units. And it can be super frustrating to just have to do that continually. Even with the Mongols, like, they have the Cav Archer that fires automatically. I don't really understand that. Like, I don't understand why they have units that fire automatically. It seems out of place. You're not doing anything and you get kills from it. It kind of seems random. For example, the Indian siege, one of the Indian elephants can attack a tower by sieging it, and then also have the archer shoot on units. This thing can shoot while sieging. It just feels out of place. I don't really care for the mechanic. So generally, I'll say the combat is not the best. It's okay. Like, it's decent. There are sometimes where it feels good, and there are definitely times where it does not. Late game, the biggest issue is the train time. It is so bad. The game feels like it's from 1995. It takes way too long to replenish an army. Guys. Goodness. The military buildings take way too much space on the map. There's no space. I need land. For you to be able to recruit units. Like, if we're playing treaty, I'm going to need to have 10 stables, 10 barracks, like all these buildings laid out to get any sort of unit production. In Age of Empires 3, you can literally recruit 50 guys in 30 seconds late game. Age of Mythology has the repetition button, so you can have it on repeat, so it automatically produces units as long as you have the resources. Something like that is needed in this game. Like, late game, it literally feels like you're constantly recruiting, spamming a recruit button, and trying to get units to come out in a battle, and it does not feel good. So, like, once the game gets to Age 4, the game really does fall apart for me. It's not good enough in terms of the combat unit types. It feels way too much of, you're just going to do gunpowder units, you're just going to do knights, you're just going to do artillery. Like, it seems way too focused on that, and it works. I haven't really seen anyone try those things and have it not work. So that's pretty frustrating in that sense. But also the train time is frustrating on top of that. And additionally, the gold income is kind of sketchy. So this is more of a personal thing. I'll explain it. I play a lot of FFA, a lot of team games. That's what I love. I love the rawness of it and the fun of it. And you could tell that they spent no time caring about what those game modes look like. So easy example is in free-for-all, you only have a few of the markets on the map where you trade with to get gold. And so some players spawn closer than to others, and that's your only source of late game gold. So if you don't spawn next to one of those, you're not getting gold late game, you're going to lose. Like, it's pretty straightforward and pretty frustrating. So I don't know how they would balance that in the sense. Maybe you got to put a market next to every player. I don't know, but it's very frustrating. FFA is not possible in this game, at least balanced. And then it's also above 2v2 and 3v3s and 4v4s, the same issue. So like relics spawn randomly, which you need to get gold late game. The markets are in really weird positions depending on where you're at, where your spawn is. So it just is very unbalanced late game. And then additionally, there are some civilizations that get bonuses to use relics. So like the Holy Roman Empire, for example, has a landmark that you can put the relic in and you get like a 300% gold income bonus, which is ridiculous. Like there are some civs that don't have late game gold options that need it, and they can't compete late game. So I don't like that. I do like the idea, okay, this civ can get more of a bonus with relics, but like it's blown out of proportion in some areas where if you don't have it, like you can't really compete. So there are definitely things like that. Late game, the combat is not good. Ages 1 through 3, it feels really good. So this game really feels designed to be 1v1, in my opinion. Team games, like 2v2 maybe. Anything above 2v2, absolutely not. I hope that was clear. It's kind of hard to put my thoughts together on that. Additionally, for ground combat stealth forests, great addition. Never seen it used online outside of the campaign. So something that seems really good. I haven't seen it used once, so maybe there needs to be more stealth forests on maps. I'm not too sure. The naval combat is absolutely terrible. Could be one of the worst naval combat experiences I've ever had in any game. I've played probably a handful, 5 games or so with the Navy, and I'm not playing water maps anymore. Way too clunky. Once again, the French get a ship that's a whole age earlier. You can't beat them on the water. So I don't know. It hurts to see water always overlooked in games, and obviously was in this one. So war combat is just poor. Transitioning into the campaigns, this is a mixed bag. I'm pretty impressed with the campaigns overall. You get 4 full-length campaigns. I played the full Mongol campaign. It took me over 7 hours. So that's really cool. They give you a lot of single-player content, which I approve. Very well done. These are documentary-focused, so it's basically like you're playing a History Channel live. Like, you get all these super long transitions between battles, explaining what's going on. You get cool artwork, and then you play the battle. These visuals, man.
This is the site of the Battle of Hastings. After almost 1,000 years, no traces of the bloody conflict can be seen. But here, the fate of England turned. It's where a king was killed, and his victor claimed the throne.
Generally, I'm unimpressed by the battles. It feels uninspiring. It feels too much of a grind. Like, there aren't enough unique missions to mix up the flow of it. Generally, everyone seems like you're just building it up, and then you're fighting against the enemy. But generally, the campaigns are good. Personally, it just feels like too much of a grind for me. I started playing the first campaign, the Norman campaign, and got bored halfway through. Like, it's just not enough excitement. It's not enough uniqueness. If you're a history nut, you're going to absolutely love it. Like, it's full of history. You get these videos that break down certain things. Like, one was focusing on the Mongol art of shooting the bow on the horse and like stuff like that. And that's cool. Like, I think that's one of the reasons most people played Age of Empires as a youth, is to live in that history, to play in that history. And they did a good job of recreating that in this one. So I do give them props for that. But generally, I'm just uninspired. It doesn't come anywhere close to Age of Mythology's campaigns, where it had this great storyline, this great mix of big and small missions, and like a uniqueness as well to it. So generally, I'm bored with the campaigns, but they are somewhat impressive, if that makes sense. Now transitioning, just things I am kind of very frustrated with in the game, and kind of sums up the game as a whole, is there just too many things that are dumbed down. There are many examples. An obvious one is the hunt units do not decay anymore. So in previous Age of Empires game, if you killed an animal, it would lose like food. But for this, it just stays the same. So you can literally just kill animals all over the map, and they'll stay there the whole game. Feels pretty weird. Another example is the automatic town center fire. So like you go past a town center and it automatically shoots you if you have a scout there. It just feels out of place. It feels too like dumbed down in a sense. And there's multiple areas in the game where this is the case. I couldn't think of a ton more, but it was definitely one where it was very frustrating. The hunting mechanic itself is just not good. Like, you use the scout to kill these deer. They don't move around at all. And then you pick them up or bring them to your base. Or if you're the roots, you just go around the first minute of the game and kill all the deer. Like, it's a really weird mechanic and not incorporated well into the game. This is the dumbest mechanic ever. Like, look at him going and just pew, pew, pew. It's so silly. Come on. Additionally, there are things that leave you scratching your head. Like, you cannot customize hotkeys. I can't put hotkeys on my mouse. I have a couple buttons on my mouse. I love putting Town Center as one and Scout as one because it makes it easy while I'm streaming to be able to talk and just use those buttons. I can't do that. I got to use H across my keyboard. And so just little things like that where it's like we're in 2021, almost in 2022, and this game feels like it came out of 1995 sometimes. And it's just super frustrating. So things like that, I want to be able to customize my hotkeys, and I can't do that. And I barely use hotkeys, so I don't know if that's saying something or what. The hotkey system in general is fine. Like, it's not anything special to me. If you come from Age of Empires 2, I don't see how you could like it if you're like an original player, because you have it laid out completely differently, and people with StarCraft, and I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. So disappointed with the hotkeys. And you can't customize them. Just another thing that's like, why is that not in the game? Additionally, there's zero scenario editor. Another thing where it's like, people would play it for this reason. You cannot use a scenario editor. And that is extremely frustrating. Like, they say they're going to add it later on after launch. Why is it not incorporated on launch? I don't know. Why at least have some of it and then add more later? It just seems very confusing. So no map editor, no scenario editor, definitely a big L right there, because I know a lot of people love doing that. I would love doing that. I want to test stuff with units and stuff like that. So that game does feel somewhat incomplete. Overall, the optimization is good. The game runs way better than Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition, way better than any of their Definitive Editions. The game did run, and so they did a good job with that. I'm super thankful. That was my biggest prayer coming in this game, is that it could run. But generally, it does run pretty hard. Like, I can play my computer. I have a 1060 6GB i5 8400. I can play Battlefield 1 max graphics. Like, I could play it fine, and then here at 1440p. And then here I struggle to play the game at 1440p at all. I have to play it on 1080p scaled. Just kind of weird. So sometimes you're like, these graphics are not good, and my computer can barely run it. And there isn't that much going on. Like, it's not even like there's a battle going on. There's nothing going on. Computer can barely run it. So that's kind of frustrating sometimes. It just kind of feels weird. But generally, the optimization is good. It works. So very thankful for that. The last little thing I'm going to touch on is there are no taunts. And honestly, it seems like something where it's like it's a no-brainer, add it into the game. But it does summarize this game well. You know, taunts are a part of the game where it's like you get a little excitement, a little funniness, a little bit of life. Maybe you kind of throw a little bit of a diss on someone. Not in a super mean way, but you can just throw it out there, and it's not incorporated in the game. It's the adventure, the exploration aspect of the game that feels missing. It's too safe. It's too set at home. It's too secure. It's not testing the boundaries and the borders of what a game could be. And so it just is. And that's what this game feels like. This game feels like it just is. And areas where the game pushed the boundary to new levels, it did really well. And the music and audio is an example of that. Trying new things out, having male and female characters, doing things pushing the boundaries in those ways, it did extremely well. In areas where it didn't, the game lacks. Combat is pretty stale. There's certain areas where you're left wanting more, and that's generally my review for this game. Is I'm left wanting more. The game is decent. You can play the game. The game is generally good, but for me, it's not good enough. It's not something where I'm waiting all week to play this game. It's more of like, okay, I'll play this game. And so generally, the game is stale. The game is not given enough life. I'm not saying the game is bad, but it's left me wanting more. And so overall, I personally give this game a 6.5. Biggest I can give it is a 7 out of 10. The game generally is good, but I want more personally. And so overall, if you're looking for a game that goes back to the basics, that doesn't test what RTS could be, if you like the bare bones of what an RTS can be, if you like the history, if you like those kinds of things, then this is the game for you. If you're wanting a fun, involving, adventurous game, if you want a game that pushes the limits, that makes you want to dive in more, this is not the game for you. It does not have enough of those features, and just overall, you're going to be saying, did I really spend $60 on that? Is kind of my heart behind it. So that's what I think. Let me know your thoughts below. Overall, again, it's a good game, but I just want more from it. And so hopefully, maybe at some point, we'll get a game that does live up to that. But understandably, they went safe. But I'm just disappointed that they did so. So thank you for watching. I hope to see you around, and we'll see you guys later.